Jason Baffrey, we are live, sir.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Coach Talk TV, where we believe that coaching and coaches are an essential part of human development. You're going to learn how having a guide in your own personal development can change your life, improve your relationships, and enhance your work experience. I am Jason Baffrey. This is Rhonda Boyle. You are watching Coach Talk TV, where we have coaching conversations that matter, and we are in week one of our second Discover Coaching series, Rhonda, and it is another great day in quarantine.
Well, so this is going to age and everybody is going to know we are in quarantine.
Right.
Right. So, hey, everybody, we are thrilled to be bringing you this week and next amazing coaches where we can have great conversations around coaching and what it can do for you. And I am thrilled because we are truly international today because we have Bev Shipley from South Africa joining us.
Yeah, it's what a week. I mean, we were in India yesterday.
I know.
Today. This is amazing.
Who knew we could travel? We are world travelers, Jason.
Right.
Yeah. Hey, say hey if you're out there and joining us. We are going to be introducing our guest in just a minute. Welcome to Coach Talk TV. And Jason, we should tell everybody that we are now on podcast platforms everywhere.
Yes, we are on iTunes and Google Play and Spotify and many of your other favorite podcast outlets. And it's great. And in fact, if you missed yesterday's show with Jimmy Jane, you can actually go back and listen to the podcast now if you don't have a way to access the video. But we do encourage you to go watch the video. You can find that at our YouTube channel or Facebook, our Facebook page, or just go to coachtalk.tv. And that'll take you directly to our Facebook page, and you can watch the previous week's shows. But everything we've done so far is up on podcast now. So if you're driving in your car, then you can listen to those as you go down the road.
Mm-hmm. You can even live stream on your Alexa advice. Yeah. The lady in the corner, if you have one.
Did you wake her up?
I think I might have. Hey, Jason, you know what?
Yeah.
I've been thinking.
All right. I'm almost shocked.
I've been thinking. Well, I'll tell you, I've been thinking about this crisis and all the people that are impacted. And it occurs to me that some people are going to move into doing something for themselves, like become entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, start to build a business because they can recognize how, they are impacted by what's going on if they're working for a company, and I think there's a lot of people willing to take that risk right now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you don't really have anything to lose, I don't think. And a lot of people, I think, unfortunately have either been, laid off or furloughed or just can't go to work because they're in a business that has been shut down. And, now they're realizing, maybe there's some other things, maybe there's something that they've wanted to do for a long time and never been willing to take that step. Right. And now they're kind of forced into taking that step. Or maybe they just realize, you know what, I don't want my whole livelihood contingent upon somebody else. And I'd like to do something where I'm responsible for my own business and income and being able to do something that I really want to do.
Well, it's so funny because I've been seeing like ads now for face masks. People are, they're becoming fashion statements. Well, that's a little home business, right? And I said, Americans, at least, we are capitalists. We're going to figure out a way to make money. No matter how it is, and so entrepreneurs need coaches too, which Bev Shipley is an expert in. We're going to hear from her in just a minute and really want to encourage people to start to explore that during this time where, people are having downtime, they're quarantined, locked in, whatever words you want to say. Start studying some of those things.
Yeah, and this may be a good time to take an assessment and figure out where your strengths lie, and maybe some feelings that you've been having can be confirmed by finding out what your particular strengths are and where your talents would be best utilized.
Right. Yeah. Because some people need a team. Some people need to work independently. They are solopreneurs, and so all of these, you can actually use assessments and through coaching kind of fast track where you need to be, because you're making more informed decisions around the patterns in your life and the things you already do innately.
Right. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and this is a good time. I mean, we think about everything being shut down, but many coaches like yourself, Rhonda, and like Bev, and Debbie Roush Lissauer, our friend from New Jersey. I mean, all of you are available for online coaching sessions through Zoom or other mechanisms. And so if somebody is at home and watching this and is like, wow, I really would like to work with a coach, but I can't get out. Well, you don't have to get out. All you have to do is contact you, Rhonda, or Bev, or whomever is a coach that maybe you're connected with, or maybe you can find in your area. Then you can do a Zoom meeting and get those coaching sessions one-on-one through your computer, and be really working to develop yourself during this downtime.
Right. Yeah. I work primarily with coaches, as you know, helping them find new clients, learn, more about their niche and that kind of thing, marketing. And we're having to transition to online. A lot of coaches, they love the one-on-one feeling,
Sure.
The in-person, and, they're surprised actually that they can actually relate and still have a great coaching conversation online.
Yeah.
It's really, it can be impactful. You and I've been doing this for years now.
Right. Yeah.
So it's kind of fun to help other coaches get into where they need to go. So yeah. All right. Well,
it'd be a wonderful thing as long as you don't have technical issues.
We call those first world problems here on Coach Talk TV, because we have them. Instead, we need to recognize the miracle of the technology that we have access to today.
Right.
Yeah. Wow. Well, let me introduce, without further ado, our amazing guest today. We are wired a lot alike, aren't we?
Yes, I believe so.
Well, let me tell you guys about Bev Shipley. She is a coach and consultant. She has over 40 years of training, sales, marketing, and communications experience in the IT and engineering sectors. And her passion is for engaging and empowering people to develop both personally and professionally, because they impact one another, right? And she helps them unlock their talents and turn what is good within them into something magnificent. Bev Shipley, come on up. There she is. Where'd she go?
I'm back. I'm here. Hi, everyone.
Yeah, welcome from South
here.
Africa. We are so excited to have you today.
Yes, I'm excited to be here, I must say.
Yeah, so some of us are geographically challenged. So tell us exactly where in South Africa that you are.
So I'm in a beautiful coastal town called Jeffreys Bay in the province of the Eastern Cape, and on the eastern side of our coastline, southeastern. Yeah, beautiful. It's lovely here.
I'm feeling like I need to get my passport ready.
Yeah, and you were telling me, Bev, before we went on, you were telling me that it's a big surfing city. So lots of people coming over there to go surfing when we're not in
yeah. Oh yeah, and in July it's part of the international surfing circuit. So Jeffreys Bay is world renowned for the longest right-breaking wave in the world. And that's one of the reasons that makes it such a popular surfing place. Apart from it's just beautiful, and the people here are so friendly. And what else can I say? We've just got it all.
Yeah, that's great.
Wow. That is great. So let's talk about coaching for a minute, because, a lot of people still have yet to have a coaching experience. Like, it's still not every day, that some of us do, right? But as a general industry, it's still not quite so common, although becoming more so. So if you're sitting with someone new, to help us understand how you open coaching conversations.
So I think that the key thing for me is to my whole approach is very client-centric. So I will open a coaching conversation, get to know the client a bit, what they're about. If they, for example, if they're an entrepreneur, what is their business, how it's going, or what is their business idea, and a little bit of a personal background as well. And then once I've got to know them, I'll also give them a very, very brief background of me so that they understand who they're talking to as well. Because the key thing in opening a coaching conversation is creating the safe space where people feel, they can talk.
Yes, of course, as coaches, we are bound by confidentiality and those types of things. So even still, people need to have that feeling of a safe space.
Yeah.
Even though by ethics, our ethics say that we must create that, the client has to actually feel that too.
Yes.
So that's why your story is important. And I think a lot of people, if we can talk just briefly about the difference between counseling and coaching. As a coach, one of the differentiating factors for me is that I get to bring my talents to the table with you. So we are like co-creating or collaborating. I'm part of your process to getting to where you want to go.
Yes, yes. And I think that distinction is very important, because a coaching conversation, the nature of a coaching conversation can very easily spill over or into counseling. And so I find in my conversations, I need to be quite careful about that and upfront. I will actually tell the client that I'm their coach, not their counselor. My view on the main difference is that counseling looks at what's gone before and how you can move forward, whereas coaching looks at where are you now, and how can you move forward with what you have. But I agree with you, Rhonda, entirely. For me, coaching is bringing my whole self to the coaching conversation. And just on that, I've only been a coach for 2 years, but that my title was finding your dish of diamonds amongst the stones, and my journey to coaching feels like that. Like all my years of experience, both personally and professionally, have all come together into this wonderful thing that I'm doing now called coaching. It's like I still have to pinch myself and say, how did I get here? How did I become a coach?
I know. It really is a beautiful thing because what I believe is that you're called to coach.
Yes.
There's a calling, there's a pull, there's an innate desire to coach and mentor and help other people get where they want to go, challenge them, and not everybody has that.
No.
Which is fine, because guess what? You're other gifted and you need to go doing that.
Yes.
And that's what we help people figure out, what that is sometimes.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And I've done, as you said in the introduction, so much training throughout my life and mentoring. But my view on coaching was sort of a little bit skewed. I thought, what is this? Coach is someone who teaches in our country, a rugby team, in your country, a football team,
mm-hmm.
How to optimize their talents. And I was called to coach through a long-time friend who introduced me to the Clifton Strengths tool. That is how I got into coaching, because I saw this tool and thought, here is something that takes what's good about people and turns it into something superb. And this I want to know. This I want to know how to do. This I want to share. I want to help people find their value and unlock their value, because everyone has value.
Mm-hmm.
So, Bev, are you, I mean, Rhonda and I talked about this at the beginning of the show with people using this opportunity to perhaps change their careers. Are you seeing any of that yet where you are? Or are you working with people that are ready to make a change now?
Not. I've been working with people up until now who are already who have already made the change from a full-time job into taking an idea that they've always had, a passion they've always had, into the entrepreneurial space. But I've also worked recently with people who are taking the next step in their career path.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's funny you should ask that, because I've been working with 4 people at a client where there's been major restructuring going on, and COVID-19 has just exacerbated that situation. So it's been a lot about coaching them through very turbulent times, and now it's more than turbulent. It's like a tsunami for them.
Yeah.
And they're not going to necessarily change who they work for, but their circumstance and their way of working and their job descriptions are going to change dramatically.
Yeah.
The one person's locating from one place to another. But I do coach a lot of entrepreneurs who already have made that jump.
Okay. So when somebody comes to you and they know that that's what you do, and that they're interested in becoming an entrepreneur or changing their circumstances, how do you start those conversations with them?
Well, I would first get an understanding of what their business idea is all about, where they're at with the business. Are they a startup? Have they been going for a few years already? And where is the idea or the business already at? And then what is their goal for the coaching in terms of their business? So that's key for me. And in fact, every single session I have, we start off with the goal for that session. Sometimes we go way off track and don't meet that particular goal, but
right. That's because they don't always tell us what they're really working on or what the problem is. We help them uncover that, and suddenly everything changes.
Exactly. But my key startup would be their goal for coaching. And I do like using tools like Clifton Strengths and Gallup's BP10 report, especially with entrepreneurs, because they are so intertwined with their business. Who they are is very often what their business is. So it's key that they understand what they're about and become more self-aware, and how they can use what they have to help their business grow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Because that's really, it's the easy way. That's what you're suggesting, is that they do it their way, in the way that they're innately gifted.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And, on that point, it's I believe that, especially entrepreneurs in startups should get other coaching as well. They should get the financial coaching and the business coaching and that sort of thing. But my coaching is about helping them understand who they are and how they can make the best of who they are in their business. And so I tend to stray into a bit of business coaching, and because of my strong marketing and communications background, I'll often end up having a coaching conversation around that, and how how they market their business, because I found that generally that's one area where entrepreneurs get stuck is, I don't know this marketing thing. I can learn about, balancing my books, and, I can learn about all the processes and procedures and legalese stuff, but how do I market myself? How do I get myself out there?
Mm-hmm.
So quite a number of my coaching conversations with entrepreneurs are around that. And generally, I start with their unpacking their why. Why are they in this business? Why have they got this idea? What do they believe about this idea? And there I'm stealing from Simon Sinek's Golden Circle, which is the most awesome tool to use with unpacking the why for an entrepreneur. So key that they dig deep into that, why they're doing it.
Yeah, because if they don't, then, and when at the first sign of trouble, they're bailing on themselves because they don't know how to get that the thing that is attaching them to their business isn't powerful enough.
Yeah.
So that's a perfect place to start.
Yeah, it's their whole, what do I believe about my business, my idea, the community I'm serving, or the clients that I'm serving. What is my core belief about that? And I've coached people, and it's sometimes a struggle to get it out of them. But once they've got it, you're absolutely right, Rhonda. That's then the foundation that links them to their idea. And once they've got it, then and they can start articulating it, then marketing just flows naturally from there for them.
It does.
It's wonderful to see.
Yeah, I see where that is so helpful, because it allows them to speak in more of an empowered way about their business.
Oh yes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yes. And they naturally then need to go on to the classic marketing speak of their unique selling proposition and so forth. But once they've got their why, once they've got their belief, then, and once they know who they are and what they offer becomes their unique selling proposition. So that's again why self-understanding is so key for an entrepreneur in their whole marketing mix, because they are offering themselves. So they've got to understand what is unique about them and what they're offering. And that comes through in the coaching conversations too.
Wow. Jason?
How does that conversation typically go? I mean, it sounds like there could be, do you hit rough points in that where they hesitate, or they're just pushing back on what you're trying to suggest? Or how do you keep that flow going through the conversation?
Jason, that's a great question. And I think I heard somebody in a podcast say today, I just love this phrase, I hit the ground listening. And
that's not how we typically behave, is it?
not us communicators, Rhonda, and us woo people. But I think there's a couple of things here. So for me, listening is key to understanding where they're at. Number two, I make notes all the time. So I can, I'm picking up what they're saying, and I can refer back to that. And then the third main thing is the replay. So typically a conversation I would say things like, so what I hear you saying, or help me understand a bit more about that, or can we just go back, to this, that, or the next thing. And sometimes even if they're stuck, I might say, okay, let's park that for now. We come back to that if it's not really relevant. But I think the hitting the ground listening is key. So, and the client-centric approach is key, along with me bringing my experience and knowledge to the table, but not offering it until such a time as it's relevant. I don't know. Does that answer the question?
Yeah. Yeah. And that I guess the question is, what to do when they feel stuck.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Sometimes if a client is really stuck at a point, I will often just abandon the process, the coaching process, and just let them talk about whatever's on their mind without going into counseling mode. Got to be very careful of that.
Mm-hmm.
But going totally into listening mode. And if they come up with something that is a counseling type issue, then I will suggest to them that that's what they do, is find a counselor that they can trust to get them unstuck. Because I've had clients like that.
Give me some examples, if I can just interrupt for a second, of what that would be that you would give somebody a referral out.
So I think a client who we were going through the self-awareness process, and using, in that particular instance, we were using Clifton Strengths, but somehow we weren't getting. I wasn't enabling the client to claim the wonderful talents that this particular client had. And the next session, it was, Bev, I just want to talk. And he spoke about his childhood, and some of the things that had happened to him. And that's when I said, you need to get a counselor on this. Mm-hmm. You need to. And in fact, he had already gone down that path. But I guess sharing some of that with me, in a totally non-judgmental, just listening, actually got him back on track, I think. So I referred him out. I had somebody else who shared with me that, she was bipolar, and again, it was refer her to somebody else. Mm-hmm. So there's been quite a few instances like that, because especially if you've created that safe space, people naturally will share things with you that they wouldn't necessarily with anybody else.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and we do, we're trained on how to refer that out, because there's certain lines that are drawn that we can't cross. Yeah. Where we know when we can sense based on what they're telling us. Usually they'll come to me and give me a label, like they'll label themselves. Yes. And I'm like, wow, it sounds like maybe we need to go for counseling, or, yes. I don't say it that way clearly, but yeah. But you know what I'm saying? It's like they continue to use the labels, yes, instead of owning who they are and what the change they want in their lives. Because what, you said it at the beginning, and I thought it was just amazing. The difference between a counselor and a coach is that a counselor helps you go backwards to explore, investigate, dig in, and coaches typically are looking to go from here. Where are you now? And yes, where do you want to go? As soon as you want to go backwards, we're like, well, hold on a minute, because we're not going that way. So if you need to go backwards, then there's a different kind of relationship you probably should explore with a professional.
Oh, for sure. For sure. And a couple of times clients have shared, for example, a trauma that they've had, either in their long ago past, in their childhood, or in the recent past. And that's the kind of situation where I will listen, but it's definitely, this needs to be worked through with a counselor. I'm not a counselor. You need somebody in more the healing profession to help you work through the trauma.
Yeah.
And it's just that space that's created. But I can't, as you say, Rhonda, we are trained not to cross that line. Even though I want
to really bring this out, because we do have people listening who've never had a coaching relationship, and that might be a really big question. Like, how do I know what I can say? Well, it's confidential. And then we as coaches need to take responsibility when we see that somebody needs counseling, to be able to invite them to explore that option, and to know our own limitations of where we can, how we can help someone and when they need other help. And you also said before, talking about, do they need a financial coach? Do they need a marketing coach? You know, entrepreneurs I work with entrepreneurs, coaches, they are thrown into entrepreneurship. And then you do also. And sometimes they need multiple coaches. So, and maybe you need a coach, maybe you need this coach for 3 quick something, and then you're moving into this one that you're going to be with for longer term, because this is where you need structural help around something, or whatever maybe you're building a team and you need to explore exactly what you need. And so this is where, you want the freedom to have multiple coaches throughout your career, throughout your business, the whole bit, because, you need them. And we typically, right, Bev, we're experts with a certain, ideal demographic typically. So.
Yes. Although on that, I think it's, I do stray into, as I said earlier, some business coaching, but that's not my key area of expertise.
Right.
How to build a business model, that sort of thing. No, I'll leave it to the guys that, guys like Jason who've got all the analytical and the intellection and all of that in their heads.
Yeah, we're missing that. We had to marry it, right? Hey, Joanne Evans has joined us. She says, ironically, counselors are starting to learn how to incorporate coaching into their work because it works best to help their clients. Oftentimes, they can work for a while and then shift into that coaching, counselor and then coaching. And you know what? I will say that I really believe, and I see that both of those industries are going to be growing in the next 10 years, like because of where we are. I think people are starting to recognize that they need coaching, and that they're starting to recognize the value that coaching brings.
Yes. And I think it's the not just the value, because what I also make sure of when I open a coaching conversation and discuss goals, I make sure that the client understands that this is going to take work. Self-awareness takes work. And I love dishing out homework.
Me too, girl. And you know what it really is? It's a commitment from the person we're working with to move forward in their lives. Because you know what? I'm not going to listen to your story again.
No.
No.
And it, I had a client recently who just was overwhelmed with what was happening at work and what have you, and hadn't done the homework. So I had a session, and then I said, no, not talking, as you said, not talking again until you've done the homework. And once he had done it, he said, I'm just so cross with myself that I hadn't done it before, because if I had taken the time to do a bit of introspection, I could have used what I know about myself to handle the situation better. So that was the aha moment for him, which which is why I'm, strict on things like the homework, because when somebody goes back and spends time just reflecting on what they have and how they naturally behave, and their talents and how they can use them, they reach these aha moments, which rocks their world a lot of the time.
Yeah, it opens up new windows. Hey, let's check in with our audience real quick. Debbie Lissauer is watching, and she's agreeing that labels just tell us who we're not or can't be. Dump the labels. And then she also talks about the ethics and the confidentiality, unless it's an issue of safety or legality. Yeah, don't be coming telling me you murdered your husband. You're out. I'm turning you in. And then she also brings up an amazing point, and this is true too, that preachers, pastors, ministers they're adding coaching into their portfolios. I know several youth pastors turn coach, pastors turn coach. I know that Jason's pastor's very much interested. He pays attention to coaching and that kind of thing, Jason, right?
Yes, that is correct.
Mm-hmm. Debbie also says she thinks people don't realize how much they're holding inside. Y'all, you're about to explode. Yes. You need a coach now. I'm just going to say, yeah, there is always a higher level to discover. And, sometimes that's the issue. It's a little uncomfortable to get there. So I love, creating that safe space for people. Go ahead.
And I think that's so true. And what I found fascinating is that, especially the older clients that I've coached, if they've never done any kind of counseling or self-awareness programs before, those are generally the people who are just, wow. This is really me. This is who I am. And there's been tears. There have been tears.
Yes.
When people finally discover, like my client said, so the topic of my conversation, finding a dish of diamonds amongst the stones, came from an older client who had not gone through a structured self-awareness, if I might call it that, because for me, coaching brings structure to your self-awareness. He'd not ever done that before, and this was the biggest aha moment. It gave him the biggest boost of self-confidence, and he's now moved into a much broader role with much bigger responsibilities that he's comfortable to take on, because he's discovered himself.
Mm-hmm. It's so exciting when they have, someone that we're working with has that moment of, wow. And it just really, it's like a door opened that they didn't even know was there. And that is so fun. And Debbie says that she would call you all day long just to hear your accent. And then she says she's out of chocolate. Oh no, this is Joanne. Joanne Evans says she's out of chocolate. She's dying. Okay, we need to get Joanne Evans a care package, girl. We can't have you in without chocolate now.
Well, we're not going to run out here. My husband's a chocoholic, and whenever it goes on special, I buy a whole heap, because remember I said he's a Yorkshireman, and they like to count the pennies. So we only ever buy chocolate on a special price. And so I've got lots in the cupboard.
Oh, that's fun. Wow.
So, Bev, I just wanted to ask, before we wrap up here, is there, have you had an opportunity to forecast, and I don't want to put you on the spot, but have you had an opportunity to forecast, or what do you see happening in the next year or the next couple of years through, entrepreneurship and some of the things that Rhonda and I talked about at the top of the show?
Well, I think that certainly from our country's point of view, I see the seeds of so many ideas, so many good ideas that are going to be born out of this crisis that we're in. I think so many people are already learning new things, new ways of thinking, new ways of living, and yes, Rhonda, I was going to put on my homemade mask that I did make myself. So I think we're going to see a lot of new ideas, and people being willing to take the risk and say, you know what, the corporate world is not a comfortable space anymore. It's not the same space anymore. I've got to think of doing something different. And that's what I did. I gave up my corporate job nearly 4 years ago. And right in the beginning, Jason, as you said, we were talking about this, where people are saying, I don't want my future to be in the hands of somebody else anymore. I want to make the rest of my life the best of my life. And to do that, I'm going to be in charge of my life and in charge of my own destiny. So I think we're going to see a lot of that. But I think a quote from somebody who writes for an online magazine called The Daily Maverick said something like, we've got to start looking at the sociocentric us rather than the egocentric me. Sorry, this sociocentric us instead of the egocentric me. And if we can do that, he believes that COVID-19 will be humanity's finest hour. So I think we're going to see people turning to the sociocentric us.
Wow.
That's great.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I surely hope so. And I think the only way that will happen is if we are able to contribute in ways that are innate and unique within us for the greater good of others. So it has to be a win-win. And I think that's where most of us are looking at the world going, how in the world did I get caught up in that? Now that we're home and we're forced down, I think we're breathing differently and in a better way that is like not as tense, even though we still, most of us have no idea what's going to happen. Granted, there are people who are, wringing their hands and we need to find ways to help them. Yet I think that many of us see a positive possible future.
I think, Rhonda, on that, my take on it is in the beginning, I think we all just took one deep breath in
and sucked all the air out of the world
and held it and said, as you say, how did we get here? What are we doing? And now I think it's time for us to breathe out and breathe our uniqueness into the world for the good of the world.
Mm-hmm.
That's great.
Yes, I love that. Wow. I am so glad that you came to hang out with us here all the way from South Africa.
Yeah.
So we want people to know where to reach you. So where should we point people?
I think possibly emails best.
Okay.
Bev at mbcreatives.co.za. It's a little business my husband and I, Mike, started up.
What's the last .co.za?
Sorry, .co.za. ZA for Zuid Africa. There's your Afrikaans accent coming through there. South Africa.
I put a Z and I bet it's supposed to be an SA.
No, it's a Z. It's a Z.
Oh, it is a Z.
It's a Z. Yep.
That's so fun.
So I'm I'm on my email all the time. And yes, if people just want to hear the accent, they can call me.
Okay, Debbie, you have permission to call Bev.
Yeah.
Debbie brings up such a good point before we let you go. She says we need to shut off automatic thinking and decide where we are and where we really want to go. And if you are locked up right now in your circumstances, whatever they are, if you're focusing on that, then you're focusing on the wrong thing. I will just be bold and say, and I'm not discounting that you need to eat. I'm not trying to make light of that. So the question would be, what would you like to eat? Let's start thinking about that instead of why, you know what I'm saying? Why can't you? Because that's how you're going to shift over into that creative side of your brain. And so, yeah, Debbie is just clapping over here.
Love it. Love it. Yeah. I think on that, I've learned that we need to feel our feelings of anxiety and go through this grief process almost. I really do believe people are going through the grief phases, but even in that process, there is acceptance and turnaround. So yes, the normal is not normal, and I don't even think that there's going to be a new normal. I think there's going to be a new abnormal.
I think there's going to be a new world because I don't think anything's normal anymore, and so I'm pretty sure we are never going back to where we were.
No, we can't.
I don't think anybody wants to.
No, agreed. Agreed.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you so much for your pearls of wisdom so that people can get their dish of diamonds.
Yes. Discover their dish of diamonds. It's the most wonderful place to be.
Well.
Thank you so much, Bev.
We'll see you in the green room later.
I've loved being on the show with you.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye.
We'll see you soon.
Okay.
How fun. She's just such a beautiful coach. And I think any entrepreneur, solopreneur, startup company would be just a perfect fit for her generosity and, just her manner in helping people really understand why they're doing what they're doing and going at the best route.
Yeah.
So,
and I just want to reiterate, just because she's located in South Africa doesn't mean that if you're here and you felt a connection with Bev, that you could be able to reach out to her and do coaching online and everything. So I'm sure.
Yeah, most of us are online now.
Yep.
So yeah, cool. All right. Well, we will be back tomorrow with our next segment on this Discover Coaching series.
Yeah. In the meantime, you can find us on Facebook. Go to our Facebook page, Coach Talk TV, or you can just go to coachtalk.tv and that'll take you straight there. Also, look for our YouTube channel and please go give us a follow and set your alerts, ring the little bell, and you can be notified every time that we have a new program come out. Also, don't forget, you can find us on your podcasting venues, iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, and all the other big ones. And be sure to check us out, listen to the audio podcast, and give us some stars. Go give us a good review on there if you enjoy what we're doing. That'll help us hopefully get up into some sort of standings.
Show us some love.
We love that. So thanks, everybody, for being with us today. And we will be back tomorrow with more of the Discover Coaching series here from Coach Talk TV. Rhonda?
Bye, everyone. See you later.